The Rogers Arena in Vancouver hosts first-class violence this weekend as UFC on ESPN Plus 16 has a headliner between Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone and Justin Gaethje. Dan Tom here with MMA Junkie to help you take a little bit of a closer look on the main event this weekend between the two. First, you got Cowboy Cerrone, whose highlight reel we've all been accustomed to. He's got head kicks up high, he's got triangle chokes down below on the floor, and he's brushed up his game in between, from striking in spaces off the breaks to getting better at boxing range to help dissuade pressure. But speaking of pressure, you got Justin Gaethje. He's an all-team violence staple for everybody's roster, right? He fights behind a hard shell, throws hard punches, and in his last fight with Edson Barbosa, showed that he can exchange leg kicks with the best of them, which is kind of apropos since he's facing the fighter with the most leg kicks landed in UFC history. Now, my thoughts on the matchup. Well, if I look at what the public and the odds makers are saying, right now Justin Gaethje is your favorite at -190, with a comeback of Donald Cerrone as your underdog at +165, depending on what house you're looking at. But when I look at it, I got to agree with that if I'm being honest. I love Cowboy Cerrone, and as you can tell in my hesitation here, I hate picking against him. But ultimately, when I look at the common thread of Cerrone's losses, they're usually guys that aren't just in the top 5, but they have the common thread of pressure. And Justin Gaethje kind of fits both those bills. So, in my opinion, if Donald Cerrone, not so much with the head kicks up high that everybody's talking about, if he can't tax him with those check knees or check hooks, Edson Barbosa landed some on Gaethje before getting finished, then I see this being Justin Gaethje, possibly one-way traffic in rounds 1 and 2. Now, if Donald Cerrone can survive that storm, perhaps he can come back in the later rounds. We've seen Cerrone hop on his saddle comes round 2 and 3, and he can start riding off into the sunset. As much as I would love to see that happen, the pick is Justin Gaethje for me, probably in the first round with a knockout. Now, whether or not you agree with that pick, make sure you keep it locked to MMA Junkie. We'll have on-site coverage on the ground in Vancouver all week long.